"Don't drink that, Igor." The room froze. Everyone turned as the soft-spoken housekeeper stepped forward, her hands trembling, eyes locked on the glass in his hand. Igor blinked in confusion. "What did you say?" Carolina's face lost all color. "I said, don't drink it." The woman pulled off her scarf, revealing graying hair and tired eyes. "I'm not just your housekeeper, I'm your mother." Igor stared at her as if seeing her for the first time. The scarf, the apron, the meek voice, all of it had been a disguise. For weeks she had scrubbed floors and served meals in silence. But now her voice cut through the room like a blade. "I know what's in that drink," she said, eyes never leaving Carolina's frozen face. "She thinks I'm invisible. That's why she showed her true self." Carolina's lips parted, but no words came. This wasn't just about a drink. It was about everything Marina had sacrificed. The years, the silence, the humiliation, all to protect her son. This is the story of a mother who lost everything, built a life from ashes, and raised a son who became a millionaire. But when love came knocking, it wasn't the son who needed testing, it was the woman standing beside him. Marina Callahan wasn't supposed to survive. At 19, pregnant and abandoned in a small town that forgot kindness a long time ago, she was told she'd never make it on her own. But she did. She took a one-way bus to Chicago with $37 in her coat and no one waiting for her. She cleaned hotel bathrooms during the day, washed dishes at night, and slept in rented rooms that smelled of mold and broken dreams. When Igor was born, she whispered a promise to him in the hospital's supply closet, where she hid to cry, "You'll never feel unwanted, not even for a second." And she kept that promise. Every extra shift was for him, every worn-out pair of shoes, every skipped meal. It was all so he could have notebooks, books, safety. She raised him not just to survive, but to become a good man. And he did. Igor grew into a quiet, brilliant boy. He earned scholarships, won science fairs, and built things in the garage that baffled adults. By 28, he'd launched a tech company that revolutionized logistics. By 30, he was a millionaire. He bought a penthouse in River North, traveled the world, dined with investors, influencers, and men in tailored suits. Marina, she stayed in her small apartment in Logan Square. She liked her garden and her neighbors who borrowed sugar without asking. But even from afar, she noticed something changing in her son. He stopped coming by as often, stopped calling just to talk, and when he did visit, he looked tired, distracted. Then, one Sunday afternoon, as the smell of lentil soup filled her tiny kitchen, he said it. "Mom, I met someone. Her name's Carolina. She's amazing." Marina smiled, but something inside her tensed. She asked questions, where she was from, what she did. "She's in fashion," Igor said. "Her family's pretty well known." A week later, they met. Carolina Brooks had perfect hair, diamond earrings, and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She was polite, of course, but something about her felt rehearsed. She looked at Marina like she was a character in a story she'd rather not be part of, and Marina felt it, sharp and quiet. This woman didn't love her son. She loved what he had become. Marina tried to ignore the knot in her stomach. She told herself that maybe she was just being protective, maybe even jealous. After all, it wasn't easy watching your son build a new life, one you had no part in. Still, deep down, her wish was simple. That Igor would find someone who saw him the way she did, not as a name on a Forbes list, but as the boy who used to fall asleep on her shoulder during thunderstorms. In the weeks that followed, Marina kept her distance. She didn't want to intrude, but she noticed things. Carolina never asked about Igor's childhood, never seemed interested in where he came from. She laughed at his jokes, yes, but only the ones told in front of people. At private dinners, she scrolled through her phone while he talked. One evening, Igor invited Marina to a formal dinner party at his penthouse. "It was Carolina's idea," he said. "She wants you to feel more included." That surprised Marina. Maybe she had been wrong. She wore her best blouse and brought her famous homemade pie. The elevator doors opened to a room filled with crystal glasses, catered hors d'oeuvres, and people who smiled too much without meaning it. Carolina welcomed her with a kiss on the cheek and guided her straight to the kitchen. "You can leave the pie here," she said sweetly. "We'll serve it later." Then she disappeared. Marina stood there for a few moments, alone in the kitchen, unsure what to do. She wandered back into the hallway, and that's when she heard it. Laughter. Voices. Carolina's voice. "She brought a pie," she was saying between giggles, "like this is some church potluck. God, I told Igor to prepare her. I mean, look at her. She doesn't even know how to dress for these things." Marina froze. Her hands, still dusted with flour, curled into fists. "And you should have seen the way she looked at me," Carolina continued, "like I stole her baby or something. I'm marrying a man, not joining a charity." The room erupted in laughter. Marina slowly stepped back, her breath catching in her throat. That was it. That was the moment her quiet dream shattered, the one where her son was loved deeply, completely, and without conditions. She left before dessert was served. Back in her apartment, she sat at the edge of her bed, her hands shaking in her lap. It wasn't just about her. It was about the man Igor had become, and the danger of someone chipping away at his heart while he smiled, unaware. She knew then what had to be done, and it would require everything she had left. Marina barely slept that night. She kept replaying Carolina's voice in her mind, the laughter, the mockery, the words that cut deeper than she expected. But what haunted her more was the possibility that Igor had no idea. He was smart, yes, brilliant even, but when it came to people, especially people he loved, his heart often overruled his judgment. The next morning, Marina sat on the edge of her sofa, sipping cold coffee, staring at the phone in her hand. Should she tell him? Confront Carolina? Would he even believe her? She'd raised him to think for himself, to trust his instincts. But now, those instincts had been clouded by charm, elegance, and a woman who knew exactly how to perform affection. That afternoon, Igor stopped by unexpectedly. "Hey, Mom," he said, kissing her forehead. "You okay?" She hesitated. "I heard something last night," she began softly. Carolina's words echoed in her chest, but saying them aloud felt heavier than she imagined. "She said some things about me, about you. I don't think she's who you believe she is." Igor's face tightened. He set his coffee down slowly. "What exactly did you hear?" Marina recounted the conversation, word for word. Her voice didn't tremble, but her hands did. He stood there, arms crossed, silent for a long moment. "Mom, she comes from a different world. Maybe she didn't mean it like that. She laughed at you, Igor. Maybe she was nervous. People joke when they're uncomfortable." Marina's eyes filled, but she didn't let the tears fall. "You think I'm lying?" "No, of course not," he said, frustrated. "But maybe you misunderstood." "I didn't." Igor exhaled hard. "Mom, I love you, but I also love her. And it kind of feels like you don't want me to be happy." Those words, they landed like a blow to the chest. He kissed her cheek and left soon after, leaving Marina alone in the silence. She stared at the door long after it closed. Her son, the one she raised through storms and hunger and brokenness, now saw her concern as an obstacle. She felt small, powerless. That night, she stood in front of the bathroom mirror, looking at the deepening lines around her eyes. Maybe it was too late. Maybe Carolina had already won. But then she remembered something her own mother once said. People can lie with words, but they never lie in how they treat those they think are beneath them. And just like that, a thought ignited. What if Carolina believed she was beneath her? What if Marina let her believe that? The next day, she showed up at Igor's penthouse with her hair tied back, a worn cardigan, and a story. She told him she wanted to feel useful, help out while Carolina was settling in. She offered to work as a housekeeper, temporarily, just to help the new staff adjust. It would give her peace of mind, she said. And if Carolina was truly kind, Marina would see it firsthand. Igor hesitated. "Mom, I don't know. That sounds strange." she offered. He nodded. But you said I misunderstood her, Marina said gently. So let me understand. He stared at her for a long time, and then, reluctantly, he agreed. Okay, he said, but no one else can know. Marina nodded. She would be Rose, the new part-time cleaner. A nobody, someone invisible. And in that invisibility, she would find the truth. That evening, Carolina returned home to find the new housekeeper wiping down the marble counters. "Oh, you must be the new help," she said, not bothering to smile. "You know how to make green juice?" "Yes, ma'am," Marina said softly, eyes down. "I can learn." "Good," Carolina replied, walking off without another glance. Marina stood in the kitchen, her heart pounding. This wasn't just about Igor anymore. This was about every mother who ever watched someone smile at their child with a knife behind their back. She wasn't going to let that happen, not on her watch. In the weeks that followed, Marina moved through the penthouse like a ghost, invisible but alert, watching every word, every glance, every shift in tone. Carolina never once looked her in the eyes. She gave orders like she was speaking to a voice-activated machine. "More lemon in the water next time, Rose. This isn't folded right. Redo it. God, you walk so loud." Marina bore it all in silence, but beneath her quiet, something was stirring. Not just anger, not just suspicion. It was disappointment, not only in Carolina, but in the idea that Igor had fallen for someone so hollow. Then, one rainy afternoon, everything shifted. Marina was organizing pantry shelves when a young woman entered with a clipboard and a damp umbrella. "Excuse me," she said kindly. "I'm just here to drop off Mr. Callahan's updated schedule." It was Bruna Torres, Igor's assistant. She smiled at Marina, a real smile, the kind that reaches the eyes. "You're the new helper, right, Rose?" Marina nodded. "Let me help you with that umbrella," she said. No, Bruna laughed gently. "I got it. But thank you. That's sweet." A few minutes later, Marina heard Carolina's voice echo from the living room. "You again. Why are you always popping in unannounced?" "I was asked to bring the updated brief personally," Bruna replied, calm but firm. "Well, you're dripping water all over my rug. I'm sorry." "It's raining," Bruna said softly. Marina stepped around the corner just in time to see Bruna's face. Composed, kind, unapologetic. Carolina rolled her eyes. "Just leave it and go." Bruna didn't flinch. "Have a good day, Miss Brooks," she said before turning away. Later, as Bruna passed Marina by the elevator, she whispered, "Hang in there. I don't think she sees you, but I do." That small moment, it changed something in Marina. Bruna had no idea who she was, no reason to be kind, and yet she was. For the first time in weeks, Marina felt a flicker of something that had been missing, hope. That night, Marina couldn't stop thinking about Bruna's words. "I don't think she sees you, but I do." Simple, quiet, true. It wasn't just the kindness, it was the awareness, the way Bruna noticed people, even those the world ignored. That kind of empathy couldn't be taught. It had to be lived. Marina started observing her more closely. Bruna arrived early every day, always carrying more than she had to, bags of snacks for the interns, coffee for the security guard, a smile for everyone. She didn't dress like Carolina. No designer heels or curated Instagram outfits, just clean, practical clothes and an air of humility. And yet, Igor seemed blind to her. Marina began testing the waters. One afternoon, while dusting the shelves in Igor's study, she said casually, "That girl from earlier, she has a nice way about her." "What's her name again?" "Bruna," Igor replied without looking up. "She's my assistant. She seems kind." "She is. Extremely. I'd be lost without her." Marina paused. "And have you ever considered seeing her outside the office?" He chuckled. "She's not really my type, Mom." "Mom!" It slipped. He caught himself, eyes widening slightly. Marina smiled, pretending not to notice. "What is your type, then?" He shrugged. "Sophisticated, confident, someone who fits into all this." He gestured to the sleek furniture, the city skyline outside the windows. Marina wanted to scream. He still didn't see it, the heart beneath the surface. But she didn't push. She couldn't. Instead, she watched, waited, let the truth speak for itself. A few days later, she caught Bruna quietly comforting the new housekeeper who had spilled juice on a guest's jacket. While Carolina rolled her eyes from across the room, Bruna got paper towels, crouched beside the trembling woman and said, "It's just juice, don't worry. Everyone makes mistakes." That night, Marina wrote a single sentence in her notebook. Not all angels have wings. Some wear name tags and bring calm into chaos. And for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to believe maybe Igor's heart hadn't chosen yet. Maybe it just hadn't seen clearly. Yet. But hope, Marina knew, was fragile. For every small sign that Igor might open his eyes, there was a reminder of how far he'd drifted. Carolina had woven herself so tightly into his life, through events, investors, even interviews where she spoke more than he did. She was the face beside his in magazines, the voice on his speakerphone, the name people expected to hear when they asked, "Who's the lucky one?" Marina kept playing her role, quiet and watchful. She told herself to be patient. But patience, when you're watching someone you love walk toward disaster, feels like slow torture. One night, she walked past the living room and heard Carolina on the phone, her voice sharp and panicked. "No, I told you. I can't tell him. He thinks we haven't even, you know." There was a long silence. Because of that old-fashioned no sex before marriage crap his mom drilled into him. Another pause, then, "I'm pregnant. But it's not his. And if he finds out, I lose everything." Marina froze. A chill shot through her. Not just at the words, but at the casual cruelty behind them. Before she could move, Carolina added one last, sickening line. "Maybe I'll just slip something in his drink. Make sure he doesn't say no this time." Marina backed away, heart racing. She wanted to confront her right then and there, tear off the scarf, shout the truth, call Igor. But a voice inside whispered, "Not yet. Not until she had proof." The next day, Marina placed a small voice recorder beneath the bar. She knew Carolina made her calls there, pacing with a glass of wine in hand. It was risky, but what choice did she have? As she waited for the right moment, her doubts returned. What if Igor still chose Carolina anyway? What if love had made him blind beyond saving? Worse, what if after everything he saw his own mother as the villain? Marina stood in the kitchen, hands trembling over a sink full of dishes. Her reflection in the dark window stared back at her, tired and afraid. She whispered to herself, "Please, God, don't let him hate me for this." Because sometimes telling someone the truth isn't the hard part. Getting them to believe it is. The recording was all Marina needed. Carolina's voice, smug, calculating, unmistakable, confessed everything. The pregnancy, the lie, the plan to manipulate her son into a marriage based on fear, not love. Now, all Marina had to do was wait. That evening, the storm outside echoed the one building inside her chest. Carolina had planned a romantic dinner for Igor. "He's been so distracted," she'd said earlier, handing Marina a shopping list with 3 wine brands circled in red. "Let's loosen him up a little tonight." Marina cooked, set the table, polished the silverware, all while pretending she didn't know what Carolina had in mind. When Igor arrived, tired from meetings, Carolina greeted him with a kiss that lingered too long. "You need to relax," she purred, pouring him a glass of wine already waiting on the table. He barely had time to sit. That's when Marina stepped forward. "Don't drink that." The words came out louder than she intended. Igor looked up, confused. "What?" Carolina's smile flickered. Marina removed the scarf from her head and met his eyes directly. "Don't drink it, Igor. I know what's in there." He stood slowly. "Mom, what are you—" "I'm not Rose. I'm your mother. And I've been here in this house for weeks, watching, listening, and recording." Carolina backed away. "You're insane. This is harassment." But her voice cracked. Her posture wavered. Marina pulled out the recorder and hit play. The room filled with Carolina's voice. "He thinks we haven't even, you know." He loses everything. Slip something in his drink. Igor's face changed. Slowly, horribly, like a man realizing the house he built was resting on sand. Carolina lunged forward, reaching for the recorder. "That's out of context! That was a private joke." "Stop!" Igor said, his voice hollow. He turned to her, eyes hard. "You lied to me. You used me." "No, I love you. I didn't know how to tell you about the baby." "There is no baby," Marina said. "At least not his." Carolina's facade collapsed. She looked between them, her mask slipping with every breath. "Please," she whispered. "I just wanted security. I didn't mean to hurt anyone." Igor didn't yell. He didn't cry. He simply stepped back. "Get out," he said. "Now." She stood frozen for a second. Then, quietly, she left. The door shut behind her. The silence was deafening. Igor sank into a chair, staring at nothing. "I let her in," he said. "I let her all the way in." Marina knelt beside him. "She fooled you," she whispered. "Because you believe in people. That's not a weakness, son. It's a gift, but it needs protection." He looked at her. "I didn't believe you. I thought you were just jealous." She smiled sadly. "Maybe I was, but mostly I was afraid. I've spent my whole life keeping you safe. I couldn't stop now." He pulled her into a hug. And for the first time in years, Marina held her son not as the man the world saw, but as her boy again. The days after Carolina left were strangely quiet. The penthouse, once filled with tension and carefully curated smiles, now echoed with something else. Truth. Igor cancelled his next few meetings, turned off his phone, cooked dinner for his mother. One night they sat on the balcony, wrapped in old blankets, watching the city lights blink like tired eyes. "I don't know who I am without the business, the money, all of it," Igor said softly. Marina smiled, sipping her tea. "You're still you. The boy who built his first robot from broken radios. The man who says thank you to waiters and opens doors for strangers." He looked at her. "Do you think I'll ever find someone who loves me for that, and not the rest?" "I think," she said, pausing, "sometimes the right person has been standing quietly beside you the whole time." Ibruna's name lingered in his mind, not because she tried to get his attention, but because she never needed to. She was just there, loyal, steady, kind. And as Marina stood to head inside, she added one final thought quietly. "You didn't fall because you were weak, Igor. You fell because you still believe love is real, and that's the part I never want you to lose." He watched her go, then turned to the city, suddenly seeing it through clearer eyes. Marina's journey wasn't just about exposing a lie. It was about protecting a truth, the quiet, enduring kind of love that doesn't need permission to speak when it matters most. Her strength came not from shouting, but from standing firm when it would have been easier to stay silent. And Igor, he didn't just lose someone. He found something far more powerful. Clarity about himself, about love, about who truly stood by him when the lights dimmed. Sometimes the person who sees you best isn't the loudest in the room, but the one who never stopped believing in who you are. And you? Have you ever had to protect someone you love, even when they didn't believe you? Tell me in the comments. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If this story moved you, leave a like and subscribe. The next story might be the one your heart's waiting for.